Hope everybody's having a good evening. Tonight, I have a story for you, an extreme case story. Just reminds us all to be more diligent in our lives. Let's get started. Good evening. Hope everybody's having a good evening. Tonight, we have a story of Miss Sarah Jane Parkinson out of Australia, and she is one of the extreme cases, I would say. But I think it's very important that we take a look at an extreme case so we can start seeing some of what was missed by the gentleman that was that this all happened to. He was the victim of this crime, and let's dissect it a little bit on here. So let's get started with this. We have a video from 60 Minutes Australia. I'm not going to play this whole thing. It's about an hour long. I will link the whole video in the description. But I do encourage you to go take a look at it because there's a lot of information in here. There's a lot of things that we should really be paying attention to. And you can see how he gets caught up with this young woman and how she comes across just to be the perfect fit. And then how it just all falls apart. It's just astounding. So let's get started here with this video.
Dan Jones is an honest and hard-working bloke, the product of an equally decent family. 8 years ago, he met the woman he thought he'd spend the rest of his life with. Her name is Sarah Jane Parkinson. Together, she and Dan planned their wedding and started building a house. But just as life was looking so good, Parkinson started making up vile stories about her fiancé. She went to police, accusing Dan of despicable domestic violence and rape. He strenuously denied the allegations, but to no avail. It would take 6 long years and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars before the truth was finally revealed, that the woman Dan thought loved him wasn't a victim, but a pathological liar. Dan Jones lived every man's nightmare. Falsely accused of rape by the woman who claimed to love him.
You've gone from meeting this innocent, sweet girl to this premeditated monster.
Sarah Jane Parkinson had a big smile and a little girl's voice.
When Daniel attacked me,
which hid a wicked heart.
Hand on my heart, I know it was Daniel. I recognised him.
When her cunning web of lies brought down her fiancé,
She just flipped like a complete stranger.
she turned on his parents. You went to war.
Yep, this was a battle. Identify your enemy, know who they are, marshal them, corral them, and finish them.
But gullible police believed Parkinson's despicable claims.
The incarceration of someone is supposed to be the last resort of the law.
Dan Jones was thrown into jail.
Yeah, his last words to me on that phone call were, "I love you, son," and I could hear his voice breaking.
The Jones family destroyed.
My only dream in life, Liz, was to have a nice little house with my family around me. That's all I ever wanted. I didn't think that was a lot to ask.
With all hope lost, it took one good cop to finally unmask this serial liar. And as criminals go, how do you class her?
She'd be up with the worst.
I'll pause it there for a second now. That's a hell of a build-up. And like I said, I've watched this video, and it is absolutely astounding that all this stuff happened within roughly a 2-year period. But let's get on to that. But it's just amazing how fast that domino can just fall. You know, she was a master at just clicking the first one, and the rest fell into place. Pay very close attention to what happens here.
It all began back in 2011, when Dan Jones, then 25, met 20-year-old Sarah Jane Parkinson. He was an AFP officer working as a dog handler, and she was an airline employee. They fell in love and within months were planning their wedding and building a house.
She was very kind of girly and cute and innocent and very kind of a little bit old-fashioned as well. Like she always, dressed very nicely. She always wore, nice dresses and like frocks and all that kind of thing.
She was immaculate. Her dress, her appearance, her manners, everything was just perfect.
Mum always used to tell the story about going down to the washing machine or something and be a toad.
I had a cane toad waiting for me.
Yeah, in the lawn.
They don't come more solid than the Jones family. Michelle, a librarian, and Ian, a former Navy engineer, had been married 30 years, and they wished the same for their son. The family welcomed Parkinson into their hearts and home. But within a year, they began to doubt Dan's dream girl. She didn't have friends, and her many stories about her troubled past worried them.
She was raped by apparently from one of her friend's fathers. A Turkish diplomat apparently raped her as well, but fled the country before charges were laid. And yeah, apparently there's been a few other boyfriends that have been abusive. She has had a bad run of boyfriends.
Okay, so she's been raped by a friend's father, according to her, a Turkish diplomat. So that way, that's a convenient story. Yes, I have to say it that way because why? He left before he could be prosecuted. So no charges were brought on. So you can't sit there and check this out, the validity of her story. And then all her boyfriends have had troubles with her. Gentlemen, this is what we call a red flag. This is multiple red flags. They also mentioned that she didn't have friends, not tight with her family. Red flag central. All right. She's got all sorts of red flags. This is the point where you just say, I'm out. Walk away. I'm out. It's just going to go downhill from here, and it's going to go downhill quickly. So this is one of the things we need to do. Check for the red flags. Check and see. Check out the Rational Male. Rollo Tomasi has a whole section in there about the red flags. What some of the things to look out for. Do some more research on this. And just be very, very casual about asking potential women in your life before you let them in. Find out what they're like. I've had plenty of stories I'll have to impart another time where I didn't know about the red flags, and God, I wish I would have, because it would have saved me a lot of grief. Let's just say in one of the cases, her last words before I had the cops take her away, it was, one of us is going to die tonight. It's either me or him. So this is very real. I've experienced something similar to this. Let's continue.
Any suspicions, though, were outweighed by sympathy, and Dan forged ahead with their plans together.
He white-knighted
But it
her.
all changed in 2012 when Sarah Jane Parkinson started a new job at Queanbeyan Anne Police Station as a clerical assistant. She started staying out with work colleagues, and it's where she met her new lover, a New South Wales policeman. Parkinson soon began weaving an intricate web of lies, claiming that she was a victim of domestic violence. When Parkinson came to work with bruises, police said she told them that Dan was abusing her. What she failed to mention was that she suffered a heart condition, which made her dizzy, and tunnel vision, all of which contributed to a series of household accidents and injuries.
She was always clumsy, and we always kind of used to make a bit of a joke.
So every time she'd have like a fall or she'd hurt herself or walk into something, she'd laugh it off, and you'd be just typical Sarah. That's just what she did.
But what she was doing was giving herself a bruise or a mark that she could then weave into her tale.
You had no idea that behind the scenes you were being portrayed as a violent man.
I had no idea. No idea whatsoever.
The first Dan knew that police were investigating him was nearly 2 years into their relationship, when Sarah Jane Parkinson's boss, Inspector Anthony Hill, called him to Queanbeyan Police Station for what he called a chat. Dan decided to take his dad, Ian, along with him.
Now, see, that is a very smart move. Bring in another party that you can trust. In this case, he brought in his father so that he can witness what was said and what is being done with the police. So you're not there alone. Somebody else has heard exactly what you've heard. If any charges are to be pressed, or somebody needs to get you a lawyer or somebody, whatever, get somebody else you can trust involved just to have your back. You don't want to go at this alone. These guys, no matter what, police are professionals. They will try and trip you up. They will do what they need to do to make things happen. Have a second party come in. Be prepared. Take very careful notes. Let's continue. Smart on Ian's behalf. Very smart thing to do.
You walk inside and you find out
Yep.
what?
They want to put a AVO against me for abusing Sarah.
And your response is?
I was like, well, I haven't done anything. You know, I was furious. I'm sitting there going, for what? Good old Inspector Hill said that he had 5 people that he would be willing to put up on the witness stand against me if I was to fight it.
5 witnesses.
Apparently, 5 witnesses to events that never took place.
So now, 5 witnesses against him for something that never took place. Think about that for a minute. And this just goes ahead and reinforces, bring other people with you so you can have a witness to what happened. 5 people. Now, I believe the cops, could come up with 5 people. Most definitely do that. But what's starting to happen here is she's in the police department and she has set everybody up to white knight for her, to stand up for her. Well, she's one of us. She's being abused. Look, she has bruises. And they completely believe everything she says. Nobody goes out of their way to find out if there's any difference to this story.
And did you say, my fiancé should be able to tell you that's not true?
Yep, and she says she doesn't want to speak to you about it.
She doesn't want to speak to you about it?
Yep.
Daniel came back very agitated. Ian was quite angry.
And what were you thinking about Sarah Jane Parkinson at this point?
I was starting to get the suspicion we'd let a rat into the house.
A rat in the house.
Yep.
You go home and you live with Sarah Jane Parkinson,
Yep.
even though you've got this AVO
Yeah.
saying that you're a monster, you're a violent man,
Yep.
and she's your victim.
Yep.
Parkinson blames her overprotective police colleagues for the AVO, and Dan believes her. And she's unequivocal about Dan's innocence when Ian Jones, the decent dad, asks his prospective daughter-in-law if there's any truth to the allegations the police are making.
I actually queried her directly about it by herself, and she's, no, there's nothing. Daniel's never hurt me. I can't imagine he ever would. He loves me. I love him. But it was rang hollow.
She looked you in the eye.
So here again, Daniel has confronted her. She's saying, no, just my overprotective colleagues, everybody's, just overreacting. But yet she's the one who told them. And Daniel is being a fool. He should have got up, walked out, got himself a lawyer, got the hell out of that house immediately. The minute that happens, huge red flag. I mean, she could have been painted in red, for God's sakes. But yet he let himself be taken advantage of. He was trying to be the nicer guy. No, the minute things like this happen, guys, you get out, get legal representation, get the hell away from the situation. Let's do a little bit more.
And said this.
Yeah, she's an accomplished liar.
Dan and Parkinson continue their lives together. He knows he's innocent, but he's beginning to have other concerns. You're suspecting that she might be cheating.
Yeah, with, some of the mobile phone messages and ringing it late at night.
The red flag, middle of the night, getting messages, possibly phone calls. Here again, another red flag. And this guy just doesn't want to believe any of it's true.
Sarah Jane,
Yep.
what'd you say?
I said, so you're cheating on me.
What did she say?
And her body language said it all.
You must have felt crushed.
I was crushed, but I was more angry at the moment. I was just furious, I just built a house, She'd moved in with me, everything was going well. I had, a good career. I had, my dream car I always wanted. I had, everything was going right. And on that instant, everything just went to shit.
The relationship ends in November 2013. Within days, Sarah Jane Parkinson comes here to Canberra's Gungahlin Police Station to make more claims about Dan. This time, they're so extreme that to believe them is to believe that Dan is a monster. So many allegations.
Yep.
So many horrific stories about you.
Yeah, there are 32 in total. You don't get a chance to defend yourself. You're pretty much just going, didn't happen 32 times. And like some of the charges that get written out to you, like they're disgusting. I think the worst allegations a guy can be,
32.
charged with. Or it's
32
Yeah, it's
allegations.
Dan had apparently raped Sarah Jane Parkinson, according to her.
Allegedly?
She'd stated that he'd struck her on the head with a lump of wood, a tyre lever. He'd urinated on her.
Yes.
He made her stand outside in the rain when she came home late and wouldn't let her in. You must be thinking, what is this?
This was just the charges. I was reading through it. I mean, they were horrific allegations. Some of the worst in the domestic violence you'd see.
And that just makes me furious. You've gone from, meeting this innocent, sweet girl to this premeditated monster who's capable of making all these allegations against you without a care in the world and thinks you can get away with it. And you just sit there and go, who's this person?
Yeah, who is this person?
Yeah, it was she was just flipped. She was like a complete stranger.
Now, his father is a hero of mine because this man is a complete embodiment of stoicism. He's not getting angry. He's keeping his head about him. He's probably just burning up inside, but yet he's keeping a clear head to make sure that nothing can come back onto him. He wants to see his objective clearly and move forward to take care of this situation. This is why I study Stoicism. I study the Stoics. I don't know if I'd be that calm in the face of that. I'm still learning. I'm not perfect. But this is why we look at Stoicism. This is why we look at some of the philosophies, the older philosophies, for situations of this nature. His father just is like, okay, let's find out. Let's make a plan. As he said earlier, we're in battle, so we need to identify our enemies. We need to, go ahead and corral them, and then you need to take them out. Basically, this is what he's doing. So his mind is starting to work through this whole process. Now, I'm going to go a little bit forward in here because I know I'm going a little bit long, so let me skip ahead. Basically, he gets arrested and spends 4 months in jail until one of the police detectives, where is it at? 2750. Sorry about this. A little hard to see that. There we go. Close enough.
She wrote to Corcoran, Lisa showed up at my work on Sunday and caused a bit of a scene. She is horrible and I don't want to talk to her again. If Parkinson was rattled, it was for good reason. Lisa Alexander was scrupulous in her investigations.
Someone had reported all of these fake crimes and blamed Daniel for all of them. And as far as I was concerned, and what the evidence showed, is he wasn't responsible for any of it. It didn't happen.
She said, Daniel didn't do this. She said, I've got a lot of experience. She said, he didn't do this. And we were...
Repeat that again.
Yeah. Well, it was like, is this a trick?
But it wasn't a trick. Lisa Alexander's case against Sarah Jane Parkinson was so compelling that the Department of Public Prosecutions in the ACT called for an emergency bail hearing. Dan, whom they'd so relentlessly pursued into jail, was now someone they desperately wanted out.
Yeah, they figured out they screwed up. This is what happened. So I'm not going to go too much longer on this. This is a great video to watch. Like I said, it's an extreme case. You can see what happens in extreme cases like this. But Daniel missed a lot of the warning signs, the red flags. All these red flags. And he kept saying to himself, nah, she's a nice girl. I love this girl. It's just one of these things. When these red flags keep popping up, you've got to sit there and take notice of them. You can't just sit there and, as much as you want to believe this is a great person. That's the person that you want to spend your time with. And this is what can happen. 2 years it took to see the full effect of what she did. It started in the first year. This is why you take your time. Don't rush into anything. If she's really worth it, if you want an LTR with somebody and you think she's really worth it, spend the time. Don't get rushed into doing this. Here's a follow-up article on her, and this is after all this went down. And one of the things I wanted to mention in this article that they're talking about, this is Dan in his trial. He's giving witness testimony after he's been released. This is against her. He stated, I'm not the man I was before. In an emotional appearance, the formerly jailed man read out a victim impact statement saying that he had lost everything. One of his quotes here is, there were times when I considered ending it all, he told the court. He said he cried in disbelief during the first night in jail, and over the 4 months there, never felt more alone or helpless, a struggle compounded by his past work in the justice system. See, he was a guard at the penitentiary, at the prisons. If they find out that was a guard, he's a dead man. Because, he's in the middle, in the thick of things here, Let me continue. He said he was constantly feared for his life as he thought a fellow inmate would recognize that he used to be a prison officer, making him feel like he was trapped in a black hole. Quote, I had to keep coming up with backstories. So he had to keep telling people lies in the prison to save his own life. I can't imagine having to do that all the time. Keeping track of all that? Oh my God. The victim's mother looked straight at Parkinson when she read her victim impact statement, at times sobbing. She said the emotional and financial stress caused the breakdown of her 36-year marriage with the victim's father. The families were forced to remortgage their house to pay the $300,000 legal bill. $300,000. 5 years. That's what all these lies added up to. And the thing that baffles me is, like, once this detective, and thank goodness that she was able to, she actually took a clear-headed look at all the evidence. Even after she said, look, this is all false. Even after the DA is sitting there saying, get him out of jail, we screwed up. It still took the better part of 5 years to make all this come to some sort of an end. As you can tell by the family statements, it's never going to be ended. Come on, this leaves a mark on one's soul. Dan, they said in the story, it's not mentioned here, he is actually, he found himself a girlfriend's fallen in love. I don't know if I would have sworn off women at that point in time, personally, after something of that, but that's his choice. But hopefully he's a smarter person for this now. He should be very aware of the red flags that he needs to look at. He's taking his time, I hope, really vetting this young lady that he's involved with at this time. But I'm just, one more. Let me just read just a little bit more here. The woman said that in the past 5 years, she kept detailed diaries and CCTV records of the family's movement for fear of more false accusations against them. Scathing of the ACT legal system. That's the Australian, it's the police force, central something. Legal system. She said her son was not afforded the presumption of innocence he deserved. So here, she played the cops. The cops, she got them to white knight. Everybody went after this guy. Nobody said, okay, we have an allegation. We believe you, ma'am, but now we have to investigate and find out what's going on. Nobody did that. And that is a big problem. And that's happening all the time. When we have these movements, believe all women, believe them that they have a story to tell. And then verify, check, See what they're saying is true or not. See what the evidence is. Don't just go in there, metaphorically speaking, with guns blazing and going after men. This has to stop. We as men have to stand up for ourselves on this. Don't do it when the cops are rushing you. But I'm talking about in our legal systems, when they're starting to pass laws, we need to be more involved. We need to be more active in these things. We need to stand up more and more. Let them call us names. Let us call us misogynists. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay? It's just fodder for their cannon to try and make us back down. We have to stop backing down. So let me leave it there. I've linked this article and the video in my show notes. I hope everybody has a really great evening, and we'll see you again real soon. Have a good night, and remember, check, verify, have backup, have witnesses. Cover your butt, guys. My dad used to tell CYA, cover your assets. All right, have a good night.